it's just a lot more transparent and it's a lot more transactional. So they tell you exactly how much you need to spend in order to get a specific quota back. Hello, welcome back. So today I just want to chime in on the recent conversation surrounding the class action lawsuit brought against Hermes by two lead plaintiffs who are Hermes customers in the state of California who were understandably frustrated about not being able to obtain a Birkin after being forced, as they claimed, to purchase thousands of dollars of ancillary products. And the lawsuit led by these two lead plaintiffs alleged that Hermes violated antitrust laws through their anti-competitive behavior, specifically by tying the purchase of certain products, in this case a Birkin, to the purchase of other products, ancillary products as they call it. So as we know, homeware products, silk, ready-to-wear, shoes, etc. Now we understand that the Hermes journey is incredibly frustrating and it's real. We all understand that this is what happens when you want to purchase a quota bag. You don't just go into the store and ask for a quota bag, which includes a Kelly, a Birkin, and to some extent the Constance as well. I think it's been a quota bag for some years now, but there's some talks about the Constance being removed from the list of quota bags. But regardless of whether it's a quota bag, the Constance is also pretty difficult to obtain. So if you want to purchase one of these highly desirable bags, you'd have to build a relationship with the SA, with a certain boutique, to show your kind of appreciation of the brand and loyalty of the brand, and you can put your name down on the wish list for one of these quota bags. And when the right time comes, you'll get a phone call from your SA that you're finally getting your wish list item. So that's how it's understood to work. I mean, it's not an official guideline. Nobody says that you have to purchase these items in order to get a bag, but this is what everybody understands to be what you need to do in order to be offered a quota bag. So understandably, it's frustrating because we view this as incredibly unfair. And when it's unfair and when it's not transparent, we tend to be very frustrated because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't really know how they allocate their quota bags to different clients. We sort of know they tend to allocate these bags to clients who spend more money with the boutique or have been very consistent in spending their money with the boutique, but there's no sort of transparency as to how exactly they do it and how you stack up against others. And so when you don't get a call for one of these quota bags, you don't know what else you need to do except to keep spending. So that's why we're frustrated, because of this inherent kind of perceived unfairness. But as we all know, there's no real fairness in life, is there? It's generally a pretty unfair game, this game of life. As much as we don't like it, someone with more money, more resources, more wealth are always going to be treated just a little bit better by the society, and that's just a byproduct, however unfortunate, of the capitalist society that we live in. And I think most of us have accustomed to a certain degree of unfairness in life. So let's dive into this concept a little bit more, right? I feel like there is a spectrum of perceived fairness in this whole kind of Hermes journey, so to speak. So the Hermes game, as it is played in the US or in Canada or some of the other Anglo-Saxon countries like the UK or Australia, we're kind of like somewhere in the middle of the spectrum of perceived fairness. If you look at other kind of regions in the world, like Paris, for example, I feel like it falls on one end of the spectrum of the perceived fairness. And there are other regions like China, in Asia, where it's a lot more on the other end of the perceived fairness spectrum, right? So we all know that in Paris, we don't have the wish list system like we do in the US and Canada, right? In Paris, there's the famous online lottery system. So in the 3 Hermes stores in Paris, you can't really put your name down for a wait list for one of these quota bags. They direct you to go online to apply for a lottery to win a leather appointment. So the way it works is that you fill out this form online to ask for an appointment for the next day, and you don't really get a response right away. But if you do get the appointment, then you'll receive a text message and an email the same evening telling you what time your appointment will be the following day. So now, that appears to be a much fairer system because you feel like everybody has an equal chance at the online lottery. It's supposed to be lottery, right? Everybody has an equal chance, but is it really? I don't really think so. A lot of people don't think so. Maybe there's an algorithm that looks at your purchase history with the boutique, your profile, how long you've been spending with them for, how much you have spent cumulatively, what you have bought, and how many quota bags you have gotten from the boutiques. Maybe they assign a probability according to those factors in the algorithm. Maybe there is some employee sitting behind the computer looking at the results from these algorithms, and maybe they can adjust individuals up and down and give certain clients a higher probability of winning according to how their relationship with the boutique. That's entirely possible, right? We don't know that. So for example, when I got my first and only Birkin bag from one of the Paris boutiques, it was from the Rue de Sèvres boutique in the Left Bank, I simply won the lottery. Now, did I win the lottery kind of fair and square and it was just pure good luck and coincidence? I don't know. Did I have a spending history with Hermes? Yes. Although I didn't build it up on purpose, I had been buying different items from Hermes, small items here and there over the course of a number of years, not because I wanted to get a quota bag, just simply because I wanted to purchase those items. I wasn't even thinking of purchasing a quota bag. When I won the lottery, it was a complete surprise to me. Although I will say that I did win the lottery shortly after I made a fine jewelry purchase at one of the boutiques. Now, it wasn't an expensive purchase. It was probably the cheapest fine jewelry item you could find. It was around 1,000 euros. But this was 2 years ago. That was when Hermes was still trying to push their fine jewelry line, and there were people online saying that if you purchase items from Hermes fine jewelry department, you're more likely to be offered a quota bag. So the fact that I won the lottery shortly after making a fine jewelry purchase and after years of purchasing smaller items from Hermes in Paris, does that play into the chance of winning the lottery? Perhaps. Do I know that for sure? No. So is it really truly a fair process of allocating these quota bags? No, not really, but it does make you feel like there is a fair allocation going on, at least the illusion of it, even if that's not totally the case. And also, I will say that in Paris or Europe in general, they like to play this kind of classy MS game of saying, no, it's not about the money, it's not really about how much you spend, we just like clients to appreciate our product, and we really want our customers to be completely comfortable with what they're buying at us. At Hermes, we don't like to overspend our clients. That's generally what they tell you, or what they try to tell you. You know how French people really just don't like to talk about money? That's just how they are when you talk to people from the Paris Hermes stores. But whether that's really the practice behind closed doors, I really don't know. Because as much as France is a a much more egalitarian and socialist society, when you peel back the layers of the onion, at the core, it's still a pretty capitalist, money-driven society like anywhere else. It's just a lot less on the surface. But what I can tell you from personal experience is that it doesn't make it any less frustrating, the fact that this whole process seemingly gives you a more equal chance. Because after I got this first quota bag, I tried going back there, I tried making more purchases of other items, I tried the online system again and again and again, and I was living in Paris, as you know, so I was able to try almost every day, but I had no luck for basically 2 years. And I even showed up at the boutique. I asked the appointment ladies. I was very nice to them. I even spoke French to them. And I was like, look, I really tried booking the appointment online. I just haven't been able to. What is there I can do to get a leather appointment? They will tell me that they're very sympathetic with my experience. They understand that it's very difficult to obtain an appointment. I was very lucky the first time I got it, but I just need to try again. But they did ask me what bag I'm looking for, because if I'm not looking for a quota bag, they may be able to squeeze me in when one of the SAs isn't as busy. So they did tell me to keep going back there and try to wait and see if they can squeeze me in. But that's only for non-quota bags. If I want a quota bag, there is no way they would be able to offer that to me, even if they squeeze me into an appointment. That would only be offered through the online system. So does it make it any less frustrating that there is a fair process, a lottery in place? No, absolutely not. I was equally, if not more, frustrated because I could not even put my name down for a wish list. At least in the US and Canada, you can talk to your SA. You can perhaps try to get some insight into how much more you need to spend, or how much longer you have to wait. They may or may not tell you, but at least there is someone to talk to you about that frustration. But in Paris, it's much less about the relationship with the SA. Everything is very kind of under the table, kind of behind closed doors. They really tell you, no, really, it's the online system, but it's really not about how much you spend. We want you to be comfortable. Spending, of course, helps, but it's really not how we do it here. It's an equally, if not more, frustrating experience in this seemingly more fair system. So now let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. So over in China and Shanghai, it's completely different over there, right? So my best friend is a big collector of Hermes handbags, particularly quota bags. She probably has close to 100 quota bags, and all from boutiques. Some of them she got from different cities in China. Some of them she got from Paris when she's traveling. Some of them from US and other cities. So she started collecting these bags way back when it was not super difficult compared to today to get your hands on one of these bags. So she has a lot of experience purchasing quota bags from stores, from Hermès directly, and nowadays she almost exclusively buys them from China. So from what she tells me, the process in China and in Shanghai is just a lot more transparent, and it's a lot more transactional. So they tell you exactly how much you need to spend in order to get a specific quota bag. So what usually happens is you have an SA you probably have purchased from before, and if you're a good client, they send you text messages, right? So whenever something comes in, they'll send you a picture of the item on WeChat. So say a Birkin 25 came in the color A tube, rose gold hardware, Togo leather. They'll take a picture of that. They'll send it to you. They'll be like, if you would like this item, the pre-spend ratio is 2-to-1, or whatever, right? So they'll tell you exactly how much you need to spend in order to get that specific item. So is that fair? maybe in some odd sense, but not really. Does it make it less frustrating? Probably, because you know exactly how much you need to spend, albeit could be a very high pre-spend amount. You may be flabbergasted by the high pre-spend ratio. For example, a handbag that costs $10,000 might require you to spend $20,000 in other like ancillary products in order to be able to purchase that $10,000 handbag. So you're dropping $30,000 in total. And you generally need to spend that all in one go because they're not holding the bag for you for 2-3 months for you to build up the spending. They are telling you that this is how much you need to spend in one shot in order to get that particular bag. But at least there is a guarantee of getting that particular handbag, the particular color, size, leather combination, if you make that pre-spend requirement. Sometimes they might even tell you what items you might consider spending in order to reach that spending requirement. So sometimes, at times like this when it's almost impossible to get a handbag in Paris, I almost feel like it's better to go with that system in China and just drop the 30,000 or whatever you need to get a handbag. At least you know there's certainty of getting one. And when you're dropping 30,000, it's really not that different from buying from the resale site. But at least in this instance, you would have the guarantee of authenticity and you would actually be able to keep those pre-spend items. So when you're super frustrated with this Hermes journey, as we all are, you might begin to think that the system in China is almost superior to the system anywhere else. So now the fact that this practice is so widespread and so common in China makes me feel like the customers, the lead plaintiffs in this class action lawsuit might actually have some ground, because even though the practice in the US is different from the practice in China, and they are suing Hermes in the state of California, where tying the purchase of one product to the purchase of another product is illegal, and the laws are probably much stricter in California than in China. The fact that this practice exists somewhere in the Hermes organization globally means that someone in this organization has endorsed this practice. Like, you can't possibly tell me that the management sitting in Paris, France, doesn't know that this is what's going on in China, in such a big country, one of their main revenue generating countries. That's just not possible. Even though this Hermes scheme, this practice is not kind of engraved in stone, it's not stated anywhere black and white in ink, I feel like if there is such a widespread practice in at least one of the major countries, it's also more or less what's being guided in other countries. I feel like it wouldn't be super difficult to uncover some of these evidence through a discovery process. It's a legal process where Hermes may be required to hand over their internal communication documents, such as any internal memos, communications, emails, text messages. They might need to hand over all of that in such a process. And it would be super interesting to see what is uncovered as part of this lawsuit. And it would also be pretty easy to depose some of the key employees, right? Like store managers or some of the store employees even, to ask them kind of pointed questions of what they were being guided to sell some of these products. And would these employees perjure themselves to protect their jobs? I highly doubt it. And because of this, I think the lead plaintiffs in this case might have some pretty good odds of getting somewhere. Even if they don't win the lawsuit, it would be interesting to see what is uncovered as part of this legal battle. So what happens if they do win this class action lawsuit? So Hermes might be required to pay some amount of damages to participants in the class action lawsuit. Many customers in the past may choose to join their identities don't have to be disclosed. The big question is the Hermes journey, the Hermes game over? Well, I personally don't think so. The fact remains that they have a very limited quantity of these quota bags that are being produced as compared to the demand. So there's always going to be a system of allocation of how they are going to allocate these very limited, highly desirable bags to the large number of customers who want to purchase them. So they might just move away from the US-Canada model of wish list and kind of building your purchase history to a model that's more like in Paris, where everybody has to enter their name in a lottery, in a draw, where the process is completely untransparent and it's completely closed doors. It's probably going to become more of a black hole, right? And they may become more cautious in areas like in China, where this practice is currently very widespread, very common, very transparent, and very transactional. They might pull away from that. So as customers, are we going to be less frustrated? I really don't think so. I think we're still going to be very frustrated. Like, imagine if tomorrow, all of a sudden, they have enough inventory to satisfy everybody's demand for these Kelly bags and Birkin bags, and everybody is able to purchase one all of a sudden. Then it will no longer be as coveted as right now, and it will no longer be as highly desirable and the status symbol as it is now. And the resale market won't have such a high premium, right? Because everybody can now get one. So we'll probably be just less obsessed over these Hermes quota bags, right? It's just human nature. We are so frustrated because we can't get them. The moment we can get them, we'll just be less obsessed over them, right? So what are we really trying to achieve with these lawsuits? I mean, it's interesting to watch, but ultimately, they're just handbags. If you don't like what Hermes is doing with the way they're allocating their quota bags, then just don't spend with them. Don't buy anything from them. You're not obligated to. As much as Hermes might be in the wrong here, there may be some moral questions of what's right and what's wrong. As Hermes customers, as appreciations of fine items, luxury items, I don't think we'll ever feel less frustrated, even if these two lead plaintiffs win the class action lawsuit. I think it's just human nature, that's all. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!